Saturday was a big day for you if you were a Tennessee fan. You had Nico set to hit the transfer portal. That news broke. And then you also had your spring game. So we'll react to both of those right now, with the focus being on Tennessee's spring game and the intel around that, because obviously it wasn't televised. But before we do that, if you're a Tennessee fan and you want to see more content around your Vols on this channel, you subscribing lets us know that there's the demand for that content. We do our best to supply it. So go ahead and make sure you're subscribed. Let us know you want more Tennessee content. We appreciate y'all in advance for that. So let's start with the Nico situation, because that was the story of the day, even before the spring game. Josh Heupel, when he's asked about it, I think gave the perfect answer. I think he had the exact right demeanor, saying, listen, nobody is bigger than this program, including myself. Nobody is bigger than the Power T. And I think it was interesting. Even fan bases in the SEC that hate Tennessee with their guts, in my comment section, saying, hey, I'm a Bama fan, but Josh Heupel not dealing with the demands of Nico and his camp for more NIL, respect. And I think if that's how you feel if you're a rival fan base, think about how you feel if you're on this roster. Because if Josh Heupel and Tennessee had decided to play ball with Nico and they go back and forth and entertain it and give him more money or whatever, like I said this before, it's okay to ask for more money. Now, are you worth the dollar figure that was essentially being talked about here, allegedly? I don't know about that. It's not for me to decide. You can ask for more money. But the minute that you miss practice, we're not playing ball with you, brother. We're not talking about making more money for yourself when you won't even show up to practice for us. And so for Josh Heupel to not bend the knee, I think that spoke volumes to the way that he's going to go about his business. I hope that's precedent for the rest of college football that is going to deal with similar situations. I'll also say this, in that locker room, I have to imagine if there wasn't already an enormously high amount of respect for Josh Heupel, which I'm assuming there was, that's gone up massive amounts with how he dealt with the situation. Now, my feeling on this is, as much as this is a negative in the sense that you lose your starting quarterback from a year ago that you played in the college football playoff with, I think this is only going to harden Tennessee. I think this is only going to benefit them and will draw them closer together because of this adversity, because of this, hey, this individual left us. We don't need that. We got us. All we got is all we need. I think that's kind of their approach. Now, you'll have to sustain that throughout the course of this next portal cycle, because I think there's going to be a lot of folks that see blood in the water and try to tamper with Tennessee's roster and so on and so forth. But I really think that this move happening the way that it did so publicly, the leadership of this locker room, I think, will take it upon themselves to make sure there's a lot of good that comes from this in a bizarre way. But that's kind of the Nico situation. We'll talk about that more on this show, obviously, throughout the course of this week as we progress here. But in the spring game of itself, tough to take away too much. Right around half the team, it felt like, wasn't playing. What I will say is you saw some young pass catchers pop a little bit here, is the intel from our folks over at VolQuest. Rodarius Jackson had a good day. 4 for 65 is the number that I have on him. Travis Smith shined all spring, had a good day as well in the spring game. Now, tight end Jack, I'm going to say this name very carefully because I don't want to get it wrong. Jack Van Dorselaer. I think that's how you say his name. Tight end for the Vols, 3 touchdowns. Listen, he may not be Miles Kisselman, but having 3 touchdowns in the spring game, okay, you can help us. Okay, we can take that into the fall and work with that. Now, the quarterbacks is something everyone's going to be curious about. Sounds like it was very, very vanilla. Not a ton to take away here. Jake Merklinger is probably the guy you look to first. Sounds like he was solid. 1 interception on the day, but even that was a little bit of a 4th down, just kind of throw it up sort of situation. So not too much to talk about there. George McIntyre, early enrollee freshman, very efficient. There's a clip floating around the internet of him dropping a dime during the spring game, so always good to see. What I will say is, even with the Nico Iamaleava thing happening around this quarterback room, you now have allegedly $2.5 million from his deal to play with to now either A, go try and add another guy via the portal to add to that quarterback room, or to add other pieces around these quarterbacks via the portal. So all I'm saying is the resources are there for Tennessee to improve this roster, to bolster this roster around these quarterbacks, and again, like I said, potentially even go get another quarterback should they choose to do that, which I think they could do. At the very least, think they could do should the right guy become available. I'll say this again. It is on the leadership now of this team, from Arian Carter to a Miles Kisselman, to not just move forward, but I think to instill belief into whoever the quarterback is. Whether that's Merklinger, whether it's somebody else, there needs to be a true turning of the page to say, yeah, that was whack that happened. We hate that happened. However, you're our guy. We're not missing a beat. We're going forward. Main thing is the main thing. Like, as good as, Nico was at times for you last year, if you're a Tennessee fan, a lot of you feel like it was the defense and it was the run game. Defense should still be somewhat intact with all that you bring back. Deshaun Bishop didn't really do anything in this spring game, but is a guy that you're really excited about for next year based on what he did throughout the spring. The same formula is there if you're a Tennessee fan. So I don't think you need to have a Jake Merklinger have a Heisman caliber season to get Tennessee back to the playoff, or George McIntyre just go out of his mind this year to get Tennessee back to the playoff or win 10 games. I don't think it takes that. So do they go to the portal? We'll see. We'll talk about it and we'll track it. I expect them to do that at the very least, to add, competition to the room and maybe even to add a starter. But overall, man, I think the Tennessee spring game was just a day that was prideful for Tennessee fans in a very positive way. Nobody's bigger than the Power T. This place has still got a tremendous backbone behind it, and that starts with the head coach. So appreciate y'all being dialed in. Appreciate y'all being subscribed. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.